10 days before Ironman Lake Placid, on a routine training ride, my forearm slipped from my aero bars and I crashed into a ditch. It hurt like heck. A trip to the emergency room ensued. The verdict: no broken bones, 20 stitches in my chin, a mangled and stitched finger, and epic road rash. After, I was left questioning the nurse. Can I swim tomorrow? Can I run tomorrow? Can I bike tomorrow? Can I race Ironman Lake Placid in 10 days? The answers were all no. Disobediently, I rode the next day with a bag on my hand to avoid getting the stitches wet. I ran the following day, Ziploc bag on hand. I swam for the first time one day before Lake Placid, one day after my stitches were taken out. The pain from the water pressure on my finger was nearly unbearable. Should I race? Can I race? Both were questions I asked myself in the days leading up to towing the water on Mirror Lake Beach, where the 2.4-mile swim would commence. I raced. The adrenaline trumped the pain. I crushed it and qualified for the World Championships in Kona, Hawaii. I share this story because it taught me many life lessons. Don't let hardship interrupt your dreams. Find a way. Conquer what you've set out to do. Anything is possible. And with that being read, I want to welcome you back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is a hospitality, fitness, and tech investor, Lululemon ambassador, athlete, world explorer, entrepreneur, and social media influencer. Today's guest is Eric Hinman. Eric, welcome to the 127 Fit podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So Eric, I just kind of want to start off with maybe just discussing kind of where you grew up and just the importance of where you grew up and your family, and kind of how your family shaped you or influenced you into becoming the man that you are today.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in upstate New York, Pulaski, known for salmon fishing, snowmobiling, getting a ton of snow. That's the majority of the economy there. And I'm glad that I grew up that way, because my life since then has been a lot of like big city stuff. But I feel like growing up in a small blue-collar country town, it taught me how to relate to almost anyone. Had I not grown up in a small town like that, I don't know that that's something I would have sought out later in life. And, you know, I would have just kind of lived a bigger city life and probably have less compassion. Just, you know, you spend too much time in like in New York City or LA, and you're kind of doing your own thing, and you're treated like a transaction, so you treat people like a transaction. Right. So I'm glad that I grew up the way that I did, where, you know, you value other people and you have empathy for other people. My parents taught me at a young age to create my own destiny, to work hard. I was always really competitive with myself, and, you know, I relate that back to my mom and dad, just how they brought me up to, like, always seek high performance and, you know, chase opportunities where, you know, I could dictate the future for them. So that's why ultimately I ended up getting into entrepreneurship and picking the different sports that I did, is because they're, you know, grunt work things where the result is directly correlated to how smart and how hard you work.
Right. Now, you said something in there that I just kind of want to touch on in regards to valuing people. How has valuing people and that lesson learned at an early age, how has that impacted you in regards to where you're at today? Because, I mean, you're an entrepreneur, you know, you have a lot of interaction with people, and you do a lot of promoting and social media influencing, things like that. So how has that lesson of valuing people really been an important, integral part of who you are today?
Yeah, so I actually said this on my Instagram story today. I try to meet at least 2 to 3 new people every single day. whether it's a coffee meeting, a lunch meeting, a dinner meeting, and I'm a huge believer in what I call collecting dots. It's a great way to build your network. It's a great way to add value and get value. And instead of chasing opportunities, instead I've always just chased trying to meet new people, gain new knowledge. And if there's one thing I'm good at, it's eventually taking all of those dots I've collected and eventually like forming something from that. So since like 2010, all of the different businesses that I've been involved in were not things that I was seeking. It was more just going through life, meeting a lot of people with shared passions, adding value, getting value, and then eventually creating something with them. Instead of saying, I want to own a restaurant in 2 years, or I want to start a gym. It was just like, no, if I interact with enough like-minded people and connect them to other people and add value, then good things are going to come from that. So,
cool, very cool. Now, I just want to touch on maybe a favorite book, or a book that you would recommend to the listeners, or maybe a book that you gift often. Is there like one or two books that kind of pop up on the top of your mind right now that are favorites, or something that you would encourage the listeners to check out?
Yeah, there's 2 books and 2 authors. So the 2 books would be How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think it's super important just understanding how to connect with people, and Never Eat Alone, which is something that, you know, I rarely do. Even if I am alone, I go to places where chance encounters can happen. So like collective eateries or cafes where, you know, I could just bump into someone and strike up a conversation. So yeah, Never Eat Alone, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And then 2 of my favorite authors are Gary Vaynerchuk. I just love that he gives actionable insights into, you know, what is now this, social media-based society, right, where like anyone can create their own platform to get their voice out there and then figure out how to monetize it. And I love Tim Ferriss's books, again, just because he's like all about doing things smart. Like when I first started training for triathlon, I was training hard, but I wasn't training smart. And I hired a coach that advised me on, like, no, here's the proper way to train for triathlon. It's not a fitness limited event. It's limited by durability and aerobic engine. So he taught me like how to train properly for Ironman, as opposed to just training like long hours, but not really understanding, you know, why I was doing the things I was doing. And Tim Ferriss is great at that. Like, you know, how can I get the most bang for my buck doing certain things, and then eliminate those other things where I'm not getting bang for my buck.
Cool. Now, in regards to the book, let's transition into podcasts. Is there maybe a podcast? I know Tim Ferriss also has his own podcast, so that might be a podcast resource for the listener. But is there maybe one or two podcasts that you would suggest, or that you find a lot of value in yourself personally?
Yeah. I haven't been tuning into a ton of podcasts lately. I go through these phases where I'm either like content consumption, like heavy content consumption, or I'm heavy content creation. Okay. And like the last year and a half, I've been in this heavy content creation phase where I'm just like constantly creating content as opposed to tuning into much. But Tim Ferriss's podcasts are amazing. He always has great guests. Joe Rogan. I just like the authenticity of the questions that he asks and the guests that he has on. My friend owns a podcast called Live Better. I really like that one. And then another one is called Midlife Male, my friend Greg in Texas. And a lot of these are just like the people they're interviewing are the people that I want to tune into. They're, you know, high achievers, but they're not superhuman. They're just people that have worked their asses off. They've worked smart, and they've been able to build something by doing that. So I like tuning into platforms where I can listen to those people and their actionable insights.
Okay, cool. Now I want to transition a little bit into you talking about and sharing about structure, routine. I'm not necessarily sure what type of word that you would want to use, but I really know that like daily habits, daily structure, daily routine is really, really important, not only for athletes, but from my understanding, you know, entrepreneurs, business people, high performers in any aspect of life. So if you, Eric, would just maybe share with the listener how you have found structure, routine, discipline, and kind of just having those daily habits, how that's really impacted your life and how you find that very, very important in your success. If you just want to touch on that and share a little bit, that would be great.
Yep. So first and foremost, and this takes, sometimes years to figure out, is like, what is your passion and purpose? That is kind of the underlying key to happiness,
Right.
is figuring that out first. And then once you figure that out, it's building structure and routines around your passions and purpose. So like, I wake up every single day excited for basically exactly what I did the day before because I know what my perfect day is now. And so my perfect day usually starts with coffee in the morning. Oftentimes it's at a cafe, meeting a new person, like-minded, where, again, we're adding value and getting value from each other. I'm connecting them with other people. They're connecting me with people. So there's, multiple value adds coming from that. And then I go and hit my first workout of the morning from 10 to 12. That's always reserved for my CrossFit training, Olympic lifting, gymnastics. And the energy I get from that then fuels like a really good lunch meeting or a podcast, because my mind is firing on all cylinders. I have lots of creativity, mental clarity. So again, like, lunch is usually the same. It's a healthy lunch somewhere, meeting with a like-minded person, doing an interview like this. And then afternoons are always reserved for some kind of afternoon adventure. I want to get outside. I want to be in my own world with headphones on. And that's like my time to think creatively. So I'll generally go off for 90 minutes on a hike, a trail run, mountain bike ride, just something where I'm out, not interacting with people, but just my time to think big. And then every single evening, I have a recovery routine for 90 minutes. I sit in an infrared sauna for 50 minutes. And then I do contrasting baths, a cold tub for 5 minutes, hot tub for 5 minutes, 3 rounds of that. And, that's, again, so much more than just recovery for an athlete. Like, I think this is something that is going to become more commonplace for everyone to do because, again, it's just another thing that it's anti-aging, it's giving me mental clarity, it's allowing me to get deep sleep at night, just like it fuels so many other things. And then after that recovery session, I have dinner, almost always out somewhere, and again, with like a like-minded person, someone new, and, again, just like adding value, getting value, connecting each other, and that's my structures for most days when I'm here in Denver.
And that structure then helps you to be the best version of yourself each day.
Exactly.
So that you can succeed in what you want to succeed in, right?
Yeah, I know those things I need to do to operate at my 100%, and those are those things. And, I've dabbled enough, and I still dabble. Like, I'll try new things here and there to see if, like, I can even function at a higher percent. But, yeah, that's my typical structure, and it's all, so many people see, like, all the workouts and healthy eating is just, like, to look a certain way. That's a byproduct.
Right.
The primary reason is, like, I want to feel good. I want to be super happy. I want to have a ton of energy, because if I have those things, good things are going to come my way.
Cool. You mentioned passion and knowing your passion or finding your passion. How did first, 2 questions. How did you find your passion, and how does the listener out there that maybe is in a place in their life where they hear the word passion or something like that, purpose, thrown around a lot, but they just really don't know what their passion is or really how to find that. So how did you find your passion, and then how would you encourage the listeners to find their passion if they don't know what they're necessarily passionate about?
Yeah, I mean, most days I'm in a flow state the majority of the day, and that's when you found, like, your passion and purpose. If you're just in a flow state and everything is happening in the present, you don't have anxiety, you're not, really thinking about future things or obligations, you're just, like, you're in the moment constantly. And, it took a while to find that. Ultimately, it was Ironman that led me down this road of health and wellness, and, like, how all of these things just helped my, energy levels, mental clarity, and ultimately happiness. So, I would write down, for someone new to this, like, what are those things each day that are bringing you tremendous positive energy? Those people, places, and things. So, like for me, it's meeting with like-minded individuals. It's connecting people with others. It's working out. It's eating healthy. It's doing my recovery routine. It's being in a place like Denver where I'm interacting with other positive people, other high performers. So it's figuring out the people, places, environments, and things that bring you positive energy. And then it's also writing down like those people, places, and things that bring you negative energy, and cutting those things out of your life. Like I like to almost always be fully engaged, and so let's take yoga for example. Yoga is amazing, but I have a difficult time just like tuning out and doing something where there's not stimulus around me.
Right.
So, I've figured out those things where like it's stimulating my mind, my spirit, and I do those things instead of other things where I feel like my mind is wandering, I have anxiety, and yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I kind of want to take a step back to that opening reading, which came from your website, and it's your own words about this accident that you had while you were training as a triathlete. Would you say that this accident and this time in your life has been the greatest obstacle that you've had to overcome? If not, if you don't mind sharing maybe another obstacle that you had to overcome that kind of was maybe a turning point in your life. So if this is it, if there's another one, if you just want to maybe talk about obstacles or maybe some difficulties, some speed bumps in your life that you had to overcome to get where you're at today.
Yes, so Ironman definitely is what taught me a ton of life lessons, and ultimately, like we're brought up in a society that tells you to seek comfort, bundle up, eat more, drink more milk, blah, 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 and, I feel like once you start seeking discomfort, you really thrive. And that's what Ironman taught me, was like seek discomfort, do things that are challenging, and it's going to give you more mental toughness. It's going to help you overcome everyday stressors. Like if someone cuts me off while I'm driving down the highway, it's not going to ruin my day. Because I'm constantly subjecting myself to these other stressors that are teaching my mind to endure. So that's what Ironman taught me, was like endure, seek discomfort, and you can overcome and you can be what most consider superhuman just by doing things that most other people don't want to do or aren't doing because most people are seeking comfort.
So you found that as you've learned to seek discomfort, there's growth in your life
so much
in that discomfort, right?
So much,
right.
Yeah.
So how does that play out then as an entrepreneur and as a businessman? How does that discomfort and learning to pursue discomfort, how does that play into entrepreneurship and being a businessman?
Yeah, I mean, entrepreneurship is all about patience and taking risks. So, and just like anything, it requires practice to take risks, and it requires practice to be patient. So that's what the Ironman taught me, that was, patience and, just endure. In order to achieve something that seems monumental, that seems unachievable, but it is achievable if you just break it down into small mini goals and accomplish those mini goals, and then you're going to reach your master goal. And that's what building a company is. It's just like executing day in and day out and not getting frustrated when things don't go right. And eventually, if you just keep executing on a regular basis, like good things are going to come.
Cool. So the physical training in your life is one way that really helps you to be at your top level as a human being, as a man, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, basically from your routine that you shared, your structure earlier, I mean, there's a couple, 2-3 training sessions. There's eating basically the same food the way that that is healthy for you. There's that recovery. So from what I'm gathering from you, Eric, is like the physical training in your life is, I don't want to say it's everything, but it's a big part of helping you stay focused and being the man, the businessman, the entrepreneur that you are, right?
Yeah, I mean those are the things I can't go without on a regular basis, is exercise, eating healthy, and my recovery routine. Like I have to have those in order to function at my 100%.
Now, you mentioned your first training session in the morning is usually CrossFit. You want to just maybe talk a little bit about CrossFit and just kind of how you found that and how you've found the benefits of actual CrossFit functional fitness?
Yeah, so I mean, CrossFit is just, varied movements at a high intensity, strength training and gymnastics. And I love the variety of it. I look forward to it every day. When I was training for Ironman, it started to feel like work sometimes because it can be pretty monotonous, just swimming, biking, and running all the time.
Right.
But CrossFit, you're always working different disciplines. There's a ton to learn. There's a ton of technique involved in it. It's not just like strength and aerobic engine or anaerobic engine. And I love the energy of the other people, around me and the music and it gets me in a flow state every day. Like the 2 hours that I spend there it feels like 5 minutes, and I would equate it to most people just going and writing emails at their desk. That's what it is for me. It's just built into my routine, and I don't have any anxiety around it. I love it. I love doing it every day. I do think it is important to learn like a lot of the technique first before doing, CrossFit Metcons. Like that's the sexy part that people see, and it is very effective, but it's so important to master the technique and form of these complex movements before starting to add in the intensity piece of it.
Right.
Like only add in the intensity once you've really mastered the movement so you don't get hurt.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite like CrossFit Games athlete or somebody that you maybe follow on Instagram that kind of gives you a little bit of motivation, or somebody that I don't want to say necessarily you look up to, but maybe like a Rich Froning or somebody like that that's just like, dude, that guy's awesome? Is there a guy or a gal out there that you really respect in the CrossFit world?
Yeah, I mean, there isn't one individual person. I know how much hard work it takes to be elite at anything.
Right.
And, all of them I look up to because they work their asses off day in and day out. They're super focused. But no, there isn't one that I look up to. And like, while I really, really enjoy CrossFit training, I don't compete much anymore just because I like doing it on a day in and day out basis. And I know, you can overdo it with exercise. I overdid it for years with Ironman training, and I would wake up feeling smashed, and I wasn't operating at my 100%. And when I compete, I go so hard that it usually knocks me off for 3 or 4 days.
Yep.
So I don't really enjoy competing that much anymore. I just like, getting a little bit better every single day, competing with myself, and not going so far that it affects me in the following days to not be able to, get up and do the same thing over again.
Yeah. Have you found, now that you're living in the Denver area, have you found a CrossFit gym or a gym that you really enjoy spending your time at?
Yeah, I go to Mountain Strong Denver almost every morning. I really enjoy the community there. Friends with the owners. And then when I'm here in Boulder, I'll go to CrossFit Sanitas. I really like training there. Same awesome atmosphere, awesome coaches, awesome people, awesome energy.
Sweet. Awesome. Very cool. I just want to ask you a little bit about just like kind of like social media influencing. I think there's probably a lot of people that maybe understand what that is, but then I think there's a lot of people out there, probably especially some of my listeners, that maybe don't even understand what that terminology is. So if you just kind of want to touch on that a little bit, Eric, and explain kind of what it means to be a social media influencer, and then kind of how brands kind of approach you and then you promote those, and kind of how all that works. If you don't mind just talking a little bit about that and breaking that down, that would
Sure.
be great.
So it started just by authentically promoting those products and services that I loved, and has since led to a business. But it all started just, again, with like adding value and showcasing the brands, products, services that I use on a regular basis. It was never supposed to, I never thought it was going to turn into a job, which job is a harsh word of calling it.
Right.
Having fun what I do every day, creating content, just sharing things that have worked for me, and basically just broadcasting what I do every single day.
Right.
So what that looks like now is I'm acting as a marketing department for a lot of different brands, where I'm creating content for them that they can use on their feeds. I'm obviously promoting for them on my feed and on my Instagram story. I'm connecting them to other influencers, helping them build out their brand ambassador programs, connecting them with other brands they can collaborate with and do giveaways with. And for a lot of them, I'm handing out their products in the real world. I'm setting up events and, just like getting people exposed to their product or service in the real world. Because ultimately, I think the real world the real world interactions are so much more valuable than just digital stuff. So, all of this leads eventually to like, how can I get in front of real people and communicate that message in the real world?
Right. So, brands, is it like the number of followers that you have on Instagram and your social media platforms, does that really, because I hear different things, but does that really play into if a brand is going to approach you and offer you maybe something? I mean, is that pretty important to have those followers and have that backing?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, an audience is important. It's like, would you buy a billboard on a street where no one goes? Right. Of course you're not going to, because no one's going to fucking see it. But the audience is not the most important thing. It is the authenticity and ability to communicate value to people that are tuning into you for a certain reason. That's when it's most successful for the influencer and the brand. So, health and wellness, that is a huge passion of mine. That's something where I've racked up a lot of knowledge. So partnering with a health and wellness brand that I use on a regular basis makes a lot of sense for me because I can promote, the value to my audience. And it makes a lot of sense for the brand because I have a captive audience around that. Whereas, let's say pet grooming, something where I have no experience whatsoever, like, it's not going to be a good fit, even if I have a large following, to be able to communicate that brand's product or service to my following that isn't following me for that reason. So engagement is the most important thing. Like, are you moving the needle for these brands? And to move the needle for these brands, it needs to be in a space where you're educated, where it's authentic to you, and where the brand can get their message out to your people.
Okay, cool. Thank you for sharing that. So you had mentioned authenticity just a few minutes ago. I from just a little bit of interaction that you and I have had right now, that seems to be something that you value personally, and it seems like the brands that approach you and that you promote and things of that nature, they also value that authenticity. So how can somebody, how do you take that authenticity and promote that or show that through Instagram and through social media? Because there's a lot of people that they're a different person on social media than maybe they are when you actually meet them face to face. So the authenticity seems to be a pretty big thing in your life and with the brands that you promote. Is that correct?
It's definitely correct, and the reason for that is, again, like, I never looked at this as a business and trying to sell something. It was just, creating content around my lifestyle because I enjoyed it. I enjoy providing value. I enjoy sharing what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. And I only work with those products and services that fit in with my lifestyle, whose products and services that I use, because I don't want it to feel like work. I don't want to stage stuff. I want it to just weave in with my lifestyle. So I'm just going throughout my day, and these are the shoes I'm wearing. These are the compression tights I'm wearing. This is the protein that I use. This is the nootropic I take in the morning. And it's what I'm doing every day, so it's easy to create content around it, and it doesn't feel like work.
Awesome. Very cool. So how does somebody create a brand? Because that's kind of a word, this whole brand thing, and I'm trying to, create this platform and have my brand. I'm trying to grow it and all that. That seems to be some jargon that's thrown around a lot, on social media and as I listen to podcasts and continue to learn myself. So how does somebody keep that authenticity in their life while they are trying to promote and create a brand?
So again, this goes back to like passion and purpose. The best brands are like showcasing the lifestyle or telling their story rather than selling the what. They're selling their why. So that is the most important thing, is like, if you want to create a brand, do something that you're really passionate about, so it just reflects like what you love to do, and you can just exude positive energy around that. And then, being really niche is really important early on. Like, Apple was built around one product to start, and then, got into other products. And like, the best brands were like, they had one thing, their one thing, and then they expanded from that. And you trusted them because you trusted that they were the expert in that one thing they first came out with, and now they're just going to do that with other things. But I think it's super important with a brand to like just be really uniform early, pick one thing and do that one thing really, really well, and then expand from there. And a brand should feel like your friends, just like, chatting with you. It's like I'm friends with Apple. Like these brands almost feel like people, like you love them. So it's like, again, like that passion and that positive energy that you exude as the brand that is what people really tune into, or the lifestyle or story behind it.
So from this conversation that we've had for almost a half hour up to this point, really it seems like it all goes back to passion. I mean, that's really what life is about, is finding your passion, pursuing that passion with everything that you have, and those doors of opportunity and the people that you need to connect with and meet. It's going to happen, right?
Yeah, because that's who most people gravitate towards. They gravitate towards positive energy.
Right. And I find, like, if I'm doing what I'm passionate about, the positivity and the things that the joy and the that thankfulness and that gratitude, it just comes naturally when you're in that pursuit of your passion.
Yeah,
right?
It's not forced at all.
Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Very cool. Now, I know because I follow you on Instagram, you spend a lot of time in the outdoors, and obviously working out and things of that nature. Is there maybe a couple places in Colorado that you've really enjoyed visiting, or some places that you visit often to work out, or just to maybe soak up the outdoors that maybe you would recommend to somebody that's going to move out to Colorado or going to come out and visit? Is there maybe a couple places that you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, the entire state is a gem.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Yep.
All right, so I'll break this up into like adventures and just like easy places to get to. So I love the Flatiron, specifically this town that we're sitting in right now, Boulder, Mount Sanitas, Royal Arch, Green Mountain, Bear Peak. Those are 4 of my favorite hike/trail runs. I'm here usually 4 days a week, and it's 30 minutes from Denver. It's so easy to get to, so you can do it in an afternoon. I love mountain biking. I often go to Ohio Valley Ranch, which is just like 10 miles outside of here.
Okay.
And then as far as like a little further adventures, you can still do a day trip, but you might want to spend one night. I love Salida and Buena Vista.
Okay.
They're just really cool towns built around art, with the magnificent 14ers that you're looking at the entire time, and it's world-class mountain biking there. For a real adventure, Telluride is one of the most magical places I've been. The town is amazing, the hikes are amazing, the mountain biking is amazing. I'm going there in 2 weeks. It'll be my first time going in the winter, so I'm excited to do some winter stuff there. But Fruta was absolutely beautiful for mountain biking. You're biking along the Colorado River, up on this rock plateau. Is just amazing. So there's so many gems.
I know.
Steamboat Springs is amazing for mountain biking. I can go on and
on. Right. Is there a place in the world that you visited that has just been an awesome adventure, or an awesome place for you to visit and spend time?
Yeah, I love Kauai. I go there every year for the Ultimate Hawaiian Trail Run in September. Okay. I just feel like Tarzan when I'm there, like running through the rainforest, swinging on bamboo trees, jumping from cliffs into the ocean. It's a place where it almost feels like people shouldn't be, and like dinosaurs should still just be roaming. The landscape is so prehistoric. So Kauai is probably the most magical place that I go to on a regular basis.
Okay, cool. Now you mentioned the Hawaiian Trail Run. I know there's a lot of CrossFit Games athletes that I follow on Instagram that go out there.
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe just touch on what that is? Because from my understanding, it supports some of the local youth that maybe have had some tough upbringings and stuff like that. Do you want to maybe just share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's this guy Aaron who started it, who owns CrossFit Poipu, and Aaron was a drug addict, and fitness was his way out of being a drug addict. So there's a big drug problem on the island of Kauai, and he wanted to create fitness facilities that kids would be able to use for free for life on the island of Kauai. So this Ultimate Hawaiian Trail Run is a fundraiser. All the proceeds go towards having CrossFit coaches and CrossFit facilities for kids to use on the island of Kauai. And the course is different every year. It's a 10K, so 6 mile excursion through the rainforest. It's super muddy, it's super steep. There's ropes everywhere to descend certain parts of it, and then the end you're picking up sandbag and running through mud pits and jumping over hay bales and going under rope fences. It's fun as hell. And yeah, a lot of the games athletes are there, and they're interacting with the kids the entire week. That's awesome. It's super special.
Very cool. Has there been a person or two along your life journey that has really positively influenced you and encouraged you in some way?
I mean, my parents to start, definitely, just teaching me that I can create my own destiny, work hard, and, the results will be in direct correlation to how hard you work. So definitely them. And then, I've always surrounded myself with really positive people, like-minded people, in whatever chapter of life I'm writing. So right now it's a lot of people that are in the health and wellness industry that exude positive energy around, exercising, moving, eating healthy, recovering properly, anti-aging stuff. So, I can't say like one person. It's just like I always seek those people that exude positive energy, and I try to spend as much of my time just with those people.
Cool. Let's see here. What we've already talked kind of about the importance of fitness and physical training in your life. So let's is there, like, going back to kind of like your eating and diet, is there like a specific diet that you follow, or have you just found that you've just basically found what works best for your body? Because that's kind of one of the things that continues to come up with all my fitness guests, is that we can maybe eat a certain food or a type of food for a certain time frame in our life, but then as we get older or things change, we have to maybe adjust those foods. So kind of are you kind of paleo, or do you just more focus on, hey, these foods I know that I like and they work best for me?
Yep, that. I don't eat a certain particular diet. It's more just dabbling a lot. And figuring out what foods give me energy and what foods zap my energy. So for me, I do the opposite of what most do, but I'm also training a lot throughout the day, is I progressively eat more throughout the day. I usually just have coffee and a smoothie bowl in the morning that's half a banana, spinach, plant-based protein powder, ginger, water, ice. Do my morning training session. I go probably 5 days a week to the same restaurant in Denver, Green Seed, and I get what is now dubbed the Eric salad, which is like Brussels sprouts, some apples, tomatoes, gargonzola cheese, 2 scrambled eggs, some soba noodles, again, lots of veggies and eggs. Those are my go-tos. And then I usually don't eat again until dinner. I go on my afternoon adventure, I do my recovery stuff, I very rarely snack unless, I really feel like I need to. And then at night is when I have most of my calories, and it's, again, like just a big salad with lean protein or with eggs. And then I'll snack on like nut butter, cashew butter, almond butter at night if I'm hungry or writing emails at night. And that works for me just because I feel like my mental clarity is highest when I have the least food in my body, because then energy is like going into my mind, and I can use it for working out as opposed to breaking down food. Whereas at night, like, I'm just going to sleep, so that's when I try to take in most of my calories, because I don't need to have that mental clarity at night, and I want to knock myself out so I can get deep sleep.
Yep. So that was something I want to touch on, because I know you talk about the importance of recovery towards the end of the night and then sleep. So if you just want to maybe touch on how you find you do the hot and the cold, the contrast for recovery each evening you mentioned, and then the importance of sleep. How does that recovery and then the importance of sleep, which is also recovery, how does that help you wake up with that passion, that fire each morning?
Yeah. I mean, if I don't get deep sleep, I'm groggy in the morning, and I can tell my mind isn't firing on all cylinders. And same with the recovery stuff. Like, if I'm not able to get into an infrared sauna or do the contrasting baths, I won't sleep as well, and I'll generally wake up and be, stiff, achy, sore.
Right.
So that's why I try to do those on a day in and day out basis, just so I feel good every single day. I think those are two of the most important things that anyone can do. It's not just like, if you're exercising at a high level. Like, these are just so good for your body, for anti-aging, for mental clarity. And, again, the byproduct is, you can train hard every single day if you want to.
Yeah. Have you found any value in like writing in your life? Is writing something that you use as a tool maybe to create and express in your life, Eric?
Yeah, I love writing. I just don't do a lot of long form stuff because I have a difficult time sitting still for too long.
Right.
So that's why Instagram has become a great platform for me, just because I can share like small snippets throughout the day of what I'm doing and try and add value that way. I would love to do more long form stuff, but I just know it's not in my attention span to sit for a long period of time to execute something that's really long form.
Cool. Well, I think we're gonna kind of wrap things up. We're sitting outside here in Boulder. It's a little chilly, man.
Where's the sun? There's no sun today.
I know, sun, come out, please. But I just want to end with maybe one life lesson or one thing of value that you can leave the listener that through your life journey and all the different things that you've been through and experienced and done, all the people that you've met. What's one lesson or maybe another lesson, 2 lessons, whatever you want to share, that you would like to leave with the listener that you just have found a lot of value in for your own life?
Yeah, so this is pretty much the one thing we didn't touch on that much was chasing perfect days. I think that is one of the most important things that you can do. And, it goes back to figuring out like what your passions are, your purpose in life. And then structuring your day around that so that you just have perfect day after perfect day. Too many people look too far into the future, like I want to have this and this by the time I'm 30, and like just figure out what your perfect day is and then how to replicate it and how to monetize a portion of it. That is what I've landed on in my 38 years on this planet of success and happiness, is just like figuring out your perfect day and doing that day in and day out, and then figuring out how to monetize it, because we need some money in this society to be able to.
For sure. So, Eric, I just want to thank you very much for taking some time out of your schedule just to hang out with me. Again, we've never met before this time, but you were willing to respond to my DM on Instagram, and we made this happen. So I just want to thank you for your time and for just sharing some of your life story with my listeners. This is kind of your platform now. Just maybe if you want to share your Instagram, anything else that you want to share, plug. This is your time to do that, and go ahead.
Cool. Yeah, my Instagram is my name, Eric Hinman, EricHinman. And, just like what you did, if you guys have any questions, just shoot me a message. I try to respond to every single one. I love meeting new people. So, you have a question, you want to meet up, if you're in Colorado, just shoot me a DM, and chances are I'm going to get right back to you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. And listeners, I just want to thank you so much again for tuning into the 127 Fit podcast today. If you guys want to reach out to me, which I would love it if you did that and just give me some feedback, you can get a hold of me at 127 Fitness on Instagram, Facebook, it's at Quentin Vars. And then if you want to read some of my blogs and some of my writings and just kind of find out a little bit more about what's in my heart and what I'm passionate about, you can go to my website. It's 127fitness.com. And you guys can find the podcast, 127 Fit Podcast, on iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox, and Podbean. Please subscribe, like, comment, and leave a review. The reviews are very, very important for iTunes. And I just want this podcast to be the best that I can make it. And it's only going to get there if you guys help me do that. And I really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy schedules to hang out and to spend this time listening to the 127 Fit podcast. So I'm just going to leave you guys with Proverbs 24:10. It says, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Until next time, I will catch you guys later.